Hello and welcome to Edge Management Infrastructure Operation. In this video we will explore open source component management, Apache Cassandra, Apache Zookeeper, Apache Cupid, and talk briefly about other components. Let's get started with open source component management. Apigee leverages multiple leading open source technologies to create Edge. In all cases, we never modify the actual open source software. If we find a fix or improvement, typically we work with the open source community and contribute that way. Online documentation that exists for any of the components shown, as well as any third-party tools for management, will be compatible with Apigee open source technology distributions. This includes Cassandra, Zookeeper, PostgreSQL, OpenLDAP, and Cupid. Our first open source component is Apache Cassandra, and specifically the node tool command. Node tool is an administration utility provided by Cassandra and is located in opt Apigee Cassandra bin. The tool uses a general format, node tool, then specify the host on which to perform the action, and then the command to run. In all these examples, we're running the command with -h0, which means the local host. The first command, node tool ring. This shows the status of the Cassandra ring as seen from the perspective of the node being queried. If your cluster is incorrectly configured, you may see different outputs if you run the command on different nodes. Node tool status. As per node tool ring, this provides information about the cluster, such as state, load, token range, data ownership, rack information, and IDs of member nodes. Node tool compaction stats. This shows the name of any SS tables currently being compacted, the progress of each compaction event, and the time remaining. This is useful if you need to confirm whether observed high disk I/O is being caused by compaction events or other factors. Node tool info. This provides information for a single node, such as token and storage information, as well as uptime and heap memory usage. Node tool gossip info. This does exactly what it says. It provides gossip information for the cluster. As a reminder, gossip is the internode communication protocol used by Cassandra. Node tool status thrift. This, like gossip info, does what it says. It provides thrift information. Thrift is the low-level API clients communicate with Cassandra over. Node tool TP stats. This provides statistics around the number of active, pending, and completed tasks for each of the Cassandra thread pools. An example might be large numbers of active threads in the hinted handoff pool, indicating a connectivity issue in the ring. And finally, node tool CF stats, which provides statistics around key spaces and column families. If you run without any arguments, the command will return statistics for all key spaces. Interesting statistics here include read and write latency, memtable size, size on disk, and finally tombstones per slice. If using this command, add -H to display more human-readable units rather than bytes. Everything described in this section should be used with extreme caution. Node stop compaction. This stops a compaction event. You'd typically perform it if it's been determined that compaction events are having a negative impact on node performance. Once compaction is stopped, Cassandra will continue working through any pending operations in its queue, and eventually Cassandra will restart the stopped compaction. Disable thrift. This prevents the node from acting as a coordinator. Since the node can still serve read requests, you would normally also run the next command, which is disable gossip. At this point, the node is effectively marked as down in the cluster. These commands may be used if you're performing maintenance or troubleshooting the node. The final two commands flush mem tables to SS tables on disks. Flush simply flushes the mem tables, whereas drain flushes the mem tables but also stops listening for further client requests until the node is restarted. Our next open source component is Apache Zookeeper. Zookeeper has a number of 4-letter codes that can be used to query its reachability as well as its current status with respect to its follower, leader, and observer modes. The commands can be invoked using netcat command, telnet, or any other utility that can send commands to a specific TCP port. The two examples we commonly use are you OK? Echoing are you OK and netcatting it to port 2181 should return a response I am OK if the service is up and running. For more information about the Zookeeper service, you can use the second command here, stat. Stat displays a number of statistics around Zookeeper, some of which are shown here. We can see in the example that the maximum latency is 26 milliseconds, there are 470 nodes in the Zookeeper hierarchy, and the node we've queried is currently a follower. A full list of the 4-letter commands can be found on the link shown. Our final open source component is Apache Cupid. There are a number of utilities to interact with Apache Cupid. All utilities are located in the bin directory underneath the Apigee Cupid directory. The two most useful commands are described here. The first is Cupid stat -q. This shows all configured message queues for Cupid. Stats include total messages, messages in, messages out, as well as the number of bytes. A more succinct method of showing similar information is to use the Python script. Check queuedepth.py shows the name of each analytics queue and shows just the queue depth. You would typically use this to check the queue has been drained before performing maintenance on the node. Finally, other components. The Apigee Edge Operations Guide provides additional information regarding the management of all Edge components. The guide includes typical commands, recurrent activities, and other actions. The guide can be found at the link provided on the screen. This concludes Edge Management Infrastructure Operation. For more information, you can visit docs.apigee.com, and to get involved in our community, please go to community.apigee.com. Thank you.